Well, this is a 1975 Honda CB750. I mean 750cc engine. They're very desirable bikes now. This one is all there. It needs some parts replaced. It needs a lot of polishing. I'll have to re-chrome some things, but when I'm done, it should look pretty close to like I did on the showroom. I put about $1,000 in it, getting it home, and I'll put another $1,000 in it before I'm done, I'm sure at least. But when I'm finished with all that, it should be worth somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000. I look at the bike overall. The first thing and most important thing to me is the engine. So before I do anything cosmetically, I get the bike to the point of where I know I can get the engine running. I get it running and listen to it, make sure it doesn't have any loud noises, doesn't smoke, which means it needs an overhaul. Once I do that, I assess the overall bike and I start looking for parts on eBay, junkyards, Craigslist, wherever I can find them. I start looking for the obvious parts. For example, these handlebars are wrong. They're real high. They call them ape hangers. They're supposed to be clear down here. So the handlebars and all the stuff on them is wrong. The cables are too long and so forth. The fenders, the chrome, all needs re-chrome. The shocks here are bad. I'll have to replace these shocks. So I take an overall assessment and look at what I know I'm going to have to replace, what I know I'm going to have to re-chrome, and then I start that process first, so that, and while I'm waiting on parts or still trying to find parts, I do the cleaning and polishing of the stuff that's going to stay on the bike as is. I'll probably have between 40 and 50 hours of labor time in this bike at the time I'm done. When I first started the restoration stuff, I would try to take shortcuts. I would try to use everything I could. I would patch stuff up, and I found that just doesn't work, because you pay for it in the end, and you pay more for it in the end because you do the work twice. So one thing I've learned is take your time, do it right the first time, so that you don't have to go back and redo it and spend more money, and it becomes more expensive the second time.
In 1939, the styled L was introduced by John Deere. It included an H gearshift transmission adopted from the popular Model A Ford car. The overall length was 90 inches. They had an upright twin 3x4 Hercules engine, which was built to Deere specifications, 7.1 horsepower. The L had a 1,200-pound pull with a price tag of less than $500. These were a one plow tractor and one row cultivator. In 1941, a stronger Model L came on the market. It had 50% more power and nearly 1-ton tow rating. The engine carried power to the electric start and lights, which were optional. With the generator and lights, it had 10.5 horsepower. Eventually, John Deere made its own vertical two-cylinder engine. The span of the Model A and the Model L ran from 1937 to 1946. I purchased this John Deere on the 8th of May, 2005. It is a John Deere Model L style. It was out in the elements for many, many years with no cover over it. This was the day I arrived at its new home at 2826 Old State Road. My wife said I should keep it on the trailer and take it to mill iron. These are some of the many parts that had to be cleaned and painted. This is part of the 3 loads of material that was sent away to be sandblasted and primed. This is the start of the assembly and getting it to look like a tractor. I'm still waiting for some help in where to go from here, like where am I headed. It's October and I'm getting some real good advice from my instructor, Colin. He was such good help in deciding what to do next. This is the heart of Little John with 2 of my advisors, whom I depend on for advice and encouragement, Carmen and Colin. It's springtime now in 2006. The L seems to have a voice and personality of its own. Again, I am all dressed up and ready for the show. I just need my name and model to say I'm complete. It's now October 10th, 2010. I'm retired now and left my rural life at 2826 Old State Road. I'm in a new place at 921 Tamarack Drive in Willard, Ohio. I like it here because there's not much to do. Here are some snapshots of some of my crew. It's been a pleasure to show some of my life with you. I'm so thankful for the one who took the time to rescue me and give me a new life. Please don't talk about my age because now I'm just like you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here for you to view.
The way we got involved was we were called for an emergency cottage trip one day to put a floor in, and while we were there, Ralph Trainer asked if we had a desire as a church to adopt one of the cottages. And as we looked around and we saw a couple of them that needed restored, this one here was probably the worst one, but yet the way I just committed to it because of the 340. And the 340 stands for, there's been 340 times last year where someone rang the bell. They either got saved or they got restored to Christ. And so we took that on as a church to restore this. And along the way, we picked up a co-sponsor, a co-church that would help us, which is the one at Beulah Beach. And they supply the majority of the money and we supply the manpower. Well, when we first looked at it, we said, where do we start? It was in shambles. And we just said, well, we start with the floor. And we put a new floor in and we started gutting it. And we just kept going, and it took a couple, 3 weeks to get a picture of really what we wanted to do. It just seemed like the Lord just gave us a vision where even the kitchen should be compared to where it was. And basically, it was just, that's how it came about. Because it's only half done, we've probably used close to 30 people on this project, a few hours at a time here and there. And it's definitely going to make it by May 1st. We just had to rip everything out. And all we had was a shell there. We had to take the windows out. We had to take everything off the walls, break the concrete up in the old bathroom. Just basically start from scratch. This thing is to be rented out. It's to be an income for Beulah Beach. And we're looking at long term. We're looking at nobody go back in there for maybe 10 years to do anything because of what we're doing to it. Really has caught me the most is when I go up there on a midweek and I see all these young people that are there for a week at a time, and how God is using Beulah Beach to change lives. And these kids will get to stay because it's going to be a 2-bedroom cottage when it's done, or a supervisor or somebody there with them. But to see these kids be given an opportunity to be together for a week and having these cottages available to them, I think that's, to me, the most beneficial.